Hey guys, this is Mike with 4 and 6 Music. What I'd like to do in today's lesson is I'd like to go over the beginning guitar riff to the title track of Disaster's debut album, A Touch of Medieval Darkness. So, A Touch of Medieval Darkness, like I said, is the debut album of the German black metal band called Desaster. They have a lot of great albums, my personal favorite being Tyrants of the Netherworld, their third album. But we're going to have a look at the song A Touch of Medieval Darkness from their first album today. So the reason why I wanted to cover this song is A, it's a fantastic song, and B, I was actually looking online at guitar tabs for this song, and I noticed that a lot of them seem to forego the introduction riff, and even when they do include it, it's not really tabbed out the way that I would play it, right? Because for this riff we have essentially two parts. We have a bass part and then the melody over that bass part. And the bass part is not too bad, it's pretty straightforward. And the melody is pretty straightforward too, but the tricky part is combining both of them, which I guess I understand why that was not included in the guitar tabs that are available online, at least from what I've seen, right? And if you guys listen to Disaster, if you've ever heard Disaster before, you'll notice that in a lot of their albums, they pretty much have at least one track that has this medieval sound to it. So for this album, obviously, from the title of the track, this is going to be the song on this album that has that medieval sound to it. And the melody itself is based off of the C minor scale. But instead of playing it over here, we're actually going to be playing the notes over here on the second and first string. And then we do have one note on the third string as well. So before I actually show you how to play this riff, let's listen to it. So this riff is played two times. If you guys notice, the first time is just one guitar, and then the second time we have a second guitar coming in as well. And like I said, it's one guitar playing this part, so you want to make sure for one single guitar you're taking care of the bass notes and the riff at the melody at the same time. So the bass note that's being played for this opening riff is the C, our third fret on our fifth string, our A string. And how we play that, the rhythm for that is going to be so let me play that along with the recording so that you can hear how that's going to sound together. So again, that's what's happening with the bass note, and with the bass note, you're going to use the pick to play that, which means that when you're playing the melody, you're playing the melody simultaneously with the bass note. So you're not going to be able to use the pick as you play the melody. Instead, you're going to use your fingers. I mean, this is a technique that we call chicken picking. So chicken picking is pretty much like a hybrid picking technique where you're using the pick and then your finger simultaneously. So the finger that I'm going to use will be my ring finger, third finger right over here, to play the melody. And I'm pretty much just going to be using that finger the whole time. And when you listen to this song and you listen to some other tracks from Disaster that have a similar sound to it, such as Titanic Steel from the album after this, Hellfire's Dominion, which is one of their more famous songs, it sounds to me that Infernal, the guitarist, is doing exactly that. He's playing both of these notes at the same time, but almost in a way that is a little bit more disconnected. It's not being played in a very clean manner. So when we're chicken picking, that's going to really replicate the sound quite well. So the melody that's happening over the bass part is going to be this. And again, we're starting on our first string, 3rd fret, our G note. So that's the melody that's being played. Obviously, we're not going to be using the pick for that. Like I said, we're going to use our 3rd finger. So when we combine that with the bass note, it will sound like this. And that's, again, the clean sound. But if I add distortion, then it's going to start to sound a lot more like the original. So that's how you would play this riff. And then afterwards, like I said, the band comes in. We're still playing the riff. And then right after that, so we play the riff 2 more times with the band. After that, we play a very similar sounding riff, but it's lower sounding from what we just played with this riff. So let's divide both of these as riff A, which we just played, and then this next one, which would be riff B. And riff B is played 2 times. And we're not actually going to go anywhere as far as shifting our hand upward. Instead, we're going to just move our fingers down 1 string. So when I mean down, I don't mean down that way. I mean down sound-wise. So we're going to move to a lower note. So we're going to go from this C in the bass note to our G, the 3rd fret on the 6th string. And we're going to base our melody this time not on C minor, which we did for riff A, but G minor. And again, G minor is going to be what we're basing our melody on within riff B. So for that, again, we're going to be playing that bass note the same way that we played the C bass note. Just like that. And then over that, the melody. And you want to make sure you get the articulation as well, such as that. You want to get those notes sounding a little bit shorter when we combine both the G and the melody over there. You also want to make sure that when you're playing that melody, both for the C minor and then the G minor, riff A and riff B, there's one section where we have a little bit of a hammer-on. Right over there. So we're going from, in this riff, riff B, our G, our open 3rd string, to our A, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and then we pick the B flat, our 3rd fret on the 3rd string. So we want to make sure that we have that hammer on when we're playing as well. You want to try to get the articulation exactly as is played on the record, right? That's super important, and it really helps to create the exact feel and sound of the riff. Even though it's a little thing, and granted a lot of listeners would not probably pick up on that, But that doesn't mean that you want to negate it altogether, especially as a musician. Your job is to replicate the sound that's on the record, essentially, when you're covering a song. So getting those little nuances, such as the articulation, is super important. So when we play that riff, riff B, it's going to sound like this. And if I add the distortion, just like that. So let me play riff A, followed by riff B, and then back to riff A, just so you guys can hear what that sounds like. And I'll repeat each riff 2 times, starting with riff A. Just like that, without the little mistake in there. But, you know, that happens. Anyway, I hope that this was beneficial for you guys in learning this riff that's at the beginning of A Touch of Medieval Darkness. If you guys are unfamiliar with Desaster, I definitely recommend checking them out. Honestly, for me, I don't think they have a bad album in their whole catalog. My personal favorite, as I mentioned earlier in the video, would be their 3rd release, Tyrants of the Netherworld. But, like I said, all their albums are just super good and have riff after riff that are memorable and fun to play and listen to. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you would like to book a lesson with me, you can fill out the booking form in the description box below, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. You guys have an awesome day. Rock and roll.